Good evening, good evening, good evening. It is Thursday night at 8 p.m. My favorite night of the week. It's ALLVERSE Thursdays time. Yeah, I'm your host, Mark Christmas. Welcome to the show. If it's your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back, right? We're excited to have you here. We've got a phenomenal show tonight. We have a guest, well esteemed, and I'm not going to give it away just yet, but I'm really excited to have this brother who's a international artist and professor, and this is really making an impact in so many places. And so we're honored to have him with us tonight. We'll get to him in a second. But if it's your first time here, or if you've been here before, what's up, Kenny's TV? I see you, brother. I see you. Thanks for the shout out. If you've never been here before, you know what we want you to do is the chat. The chat is how we know that you are down with what we're saying, that you're here, that you heard something, that you maybe got a question, something resonated. But the chat is where it's at. The chat is where it's at. So, for example, today is is the last, close to the last day of February. Either put a fist up for Black History Month, put a fist up in the chat. On Twitch, or emote, they call them emotes. Put a fist up. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can use your keyboard on your phone or whatever. Put a fist up. Put a fist up for Black. Let me just get as many fists running while we can. Black History Month. Fist up to celebrate our solidarity and celebration of our phenomenal history. So, with that being said, ALLVERSE Thursdays, right? Brought to you by the NIA Center. NIA, NIYAH, means purpose and intent, right? And this NIA Center is a nonprofit organization, which my wife and I started a few years ago, really with the whole purpose, no pun intended, was to educate, engage, and empower others to really step into their purpose, right? And it's not that people aren't doing it. Maybe they need some support, or maybe some people are doing it and they need some highlighting. They need to get it to the next level. But it's not about what we don't have, but it's around what can we provide resources to make it such that they can get more of it. They can get more of it. The NIA Center welcomes you to ALLVERSE Thursday. Absolutely. Absolutely. So on ALLVERSE Thursdays, one of the programs brought to you by the NIA Center, where we bring artists, right, to share their verses. And the artists, some of them are poets, some of them are authors, some of them are movie producers, some of them are music producers. So artists in the broad space of the word, graphic artists, visual artists, they look to, I see them fists. Run those fists. Thank you, Kenny. Thank you for running those fists. Is that here to not only share their verses, but to share an ancient tradition where the artist, where the verse was used to pass along story of purpose. The verse was used for purpose, right? Whether it was to pass on some ancient wisdom, some the ancient or sacred text, right? The Quran is said to be one of to be said in a very poetic way, and so verse really has gone back over time. And before we even had written word, people used spoken word to share history, and so forth. And so we now acknowledge that. And not only do we acknowledge that, we step powerfully into that, right? Because we're here to bring you something to educate, engage, or inspire you, right? To educate, engage, or inspire you around not only what their art is, but their journey and their purpose, right? Their life. We're going to give you some real talk. Russell Logan, what's up? You got some wahoos in the house. Some wahoos in the house. I see y'all in there. I see you. If you're a wahoo, go ahead and put your wahoo. I don't know if y'all got a symbol. What it is? I think is it a person on a horse? I don't know. We'll get to that. But if you want to put your pride for the Wahoo Nation, man, go ahead and put it up. Put it up in the chat. Well, we welcome you. Thanks for joining us tonight, Russell. And so I say all that to say, it's time to get started, y'all. Let me go ahead and open up. You know how I do it. We open up with a poem and a prayer. And so this one is called Have Your Way. Have Your Way. A hard head makes a soft behind. A stubborn spirit is deaf and blind. A kind word turns away wrath. A double-minded person continues in the same path. A contrite heart pleads before God. A hardened heart makes heavy the road we trod. I want my burdens to be light. I want my cares to be free. I want to do your will. I want to take heed. I want to let you have your way within and throughout my life today. And so I'll ask the question, audience, did I forget? See, there's a scripture in James 1:22 that says, but be ye doers of the word. Let me say that again. Y'all don't hear me. But be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. Now, I ain't going to preach. I am up for Sacred Space Sunday on Sunday. So y'all tune in at 11 a.m. on Sacred Space Sunday. We're talking about holy and acceptable. But that's another topic. Tonight is All Verse Thursday. But I'm going to take it to the Lord in prayer. And I'm going to say, Lord, forgive me for not doing what I know you have told me to do. See, I asked me to let me know your will. You told me, and I balked at it. You always give me confirmation. So you never send me a message just once. I just chose to disregard it. Please don't let my insolence drive away your mercy and your grace. See, I don't want your grace to run out on me. I need help with accepting and with doing instead of excuses for fear. I need courage to face those fears. I want to be about the things that you would have me to be about. You are my mother. You are my father. Please help me to be obedient to you. If you must chastise me, just please be gentle. I mean, I don't want to continue to have to learn the hard way. So thank you for your mercy and for your grace. In your name I ask and I pray and I accept your will for my life. Amen. And so it is. Man, this is Mark Christmas. It's All Verse Thursdays. Yeah, wahoo! Okay. VA in the house. We see y'all. All Verse Thursdays, 8 p.m. every Thursday night. We bring dope artists together, share not only their verses, but their journey and their purpose, right? Their journey and their purpose. We all have one. Right? We all have one. We're just a choice or a conversation away, maybe from fully embracing it, right? From fully embracing it. And so the man that I have with us tonight, I'm really excited about. You know, he is an acclaimed brother. He is a professor of African religious thought and democracy at the University of Virginia. To shout out to the Wahoos. He is also a poet. He is specializes in the mentions of West African Sufism and the Yoruba oriṣa traditions. He got his PhD. Yeah, he's doctor, y'all. Doctor in African and African American studies and religion at Harvard. Yeah, he's a bad boy, right? And he got his associate, his AB in African Studies and Cognitive Neuroscience from Harvard. Yeah, I told y'all, we don't play here on All Verse Thursday. He's an author of poetry and praise and prophetic perfection, right? He's also written Deep Knowledge, Ways of Knowing Sufism and Ifa, two Western African intellectual traditions. He's also the author of world-renowned poem today known as Elegy for George Floyd, which we'll get to a little bit later. But without further ado, thank you, Animal Wars. He is awesome. He is awesome. We're going to bring to the stage my man, Dr. Oludamini Ogunnaike. Please tell me I said it right, brother.
It's pretty close. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, though. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, man, thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate you. You know, every time I've read your bio, you sent it to me a while back, and I'm just so moved with reading it, man. What is AB?
AB is just Harvard trying to be different. It's just to be everything different from everybody else. So they take the BA and they make it AB. Just
okay. Okay. I had to ask myself. I said, did I write it the wrong way?
No. That's just what we're doing here, yeah, that's all.
Awesome. Well, welcome to All Verse Thursdays. We're honored to have you here.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You're a new father. I mean, you've been a father, but you got another run at it, right? Yep. And how's that been, man? During pandemic. Your baby was born during the pandemic, right?
Baby was born in August, right in the middle of the pandemic. You know, it's a lot of work, but it's beautiful in a way too. Like with so much death and suffering around, to have life come into the world, you know, and the world through new eyes, it gives you a kind of sense of renewal. and the life goes on, and you see life continuing, generations continuing. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a real blessing.
Well, beautiful, man. Well, welcome to the show. Before we jump into all this other conversation, give us a piece, man. Share a piece with us.
All right, so I've got one that's called the Shahada Testimony of Faith, which I think is a good thing to start out with. Of this alone my faith consists. There's no sweetness but your lips, and I know this from your kiss. So kiss me in remembered bliss. Make me forget that I exist. I've got another one because that one's pretty short. My words come from and back to you. You, the eye within my eye. You, the pearl for whom the heaven shells close round the earth's sharp sides. You, the lightning in the clouds, for whom the ocean's thunder sighs. You, the life inside the light, and the death hidden in breath. You, the pole of all the stars. Your lips are where the east meets west. You, the start and end of love. You, the heart within my chest. You, the dark light hidden in the brilliance of our time's sunset.
That's that piece. That's that piece.
That's that piece, yeah.
That's that piece. Oh man, that was nice, man. What is that one called?
That one's just called Muhammad.
Muhammad.
Yeah.
So I was feeling like and we don't not to compare because you and your own thing, but for those that are familiar, Rumi writes in a lot of very powerful words that had multiple meanings, right? Love and love of a person, love of the spiritual nature of being, and so that's where my spirit went when I heard that piece.
That's exactly. Rumi is one of my biggest influences. That's what it's all about. Rumi says love, whether it comes from this side or from that side, in the end it leads to that side. All the loves that we have here in this world, he calls it metaphorical love. They're all just metaphors, reflection, shadows of the real love. God's love for us, our love for God.
Metaphorical love. I love that. Let's come back to the metaphorical. But before we get into that, let's just tell a little bit. I mean, I read your background. I didn't talk about originally. So, how did you get to Harvard, man? Not too many brothers get to Harvard, right? How did you get to Harvard?
Yeah, it's a good long story. So I was a kid originally in Nigeria, in Lagos, Nigeria. My dad's Nigerian, my mom's American. We lived there for a while, and then moved to the States. Things got a little rough in Lagos, so we had to move to the States. My dad got a job there, and then I was in first grade or second grade, I think, in elementary school in Delaware, and the Klan marched around our school. We had a lot of kids in the Klan, their parents were in the Klan in our school, so my mom freaked out and said, "That's it, I'm pulling him out." And I had a younger brother. I'm pulling him out of public school. I'm going to homeschool them.
This was in Delaware, you said, right?
This is in Delaware. Yeah, this is in Delaware. It's in Newark, Delaware. So she pulled us out of school and homeschooled us. And pretty much that's how we got to Harvard, because I had my mom focused on educating us. So the education that I got was, I think, way beyond what I would have gotten in the public schools. I mean, she was amazing. She would teach us all kinds of different things, let us run with our interests and explore all kinds of things. Signed us up for all kinds of math, science, other activities. We learned African history. We had a great education thanks to my mom. And then we came back to public school in high school, did well there, got into a bunch of schools. Harvard gave us good financial aids, and yeah, so that's how we got into Harvard.
Now you say us, is that you and your brother, or is that
me and my brother? So all three. I've got two younger brothers. All of them went to Harvard too.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Wow, what a story. I mean, I can't imagine seeing. I mean, I seen the Klan on TV and I get pissed or scared, man. But I've never seen it in real. I mean, take it back. When I was in college, they did a demonstration in Tallahassee, and by that time, I wasn't scared of them, and so that went a whole nother way. But man, I can't imagine that as a child, like having that outside your home. What was it that brought them to your home?
Well, so they weren't at our house; they were at the school. So at the school, there was like a little black kid got in a fight with a little white girl, and the little white girl's dad was a wizard in the Klan. So they just came out, and it was a little scary because Roots had just been on TV. You know,
wow, I remember that. I remember that time frame. Yes,
so I actually kind of knew who. I had a sort of sense. I was a kid, so I had a kind of sort of sense who the Klan was. So that was, that was wild. But I mean, for me, it was more. I just picked up on my parents' fear that they were like, "Whoa, this is," and that really gave me a sense of like, "Look, this is what this country is like. This is what this country is like." Because when we came here, I missed Nigeria, I missed my family, I missed all that stuff. But you got McDonald's, you got Burger King. So,
Oh man, they love it. McDonald's and Burger King, y'all better give us a sponsorship.
yeah,
Man,
yeah.
he just
But
gave
then,
y'all a plug like that.
yeah, so when I was a kid, I liked that stuff. But then I got a sense of like, oh, things are different, right? Because in Nigeria, I wasn't black. In Nigeria, I was yellow because I'm light, you know.
Mm,
And I came here and everyone's like, oh, you're black. I was like, what do you mean I'm black? Because everyone's black in Nigeria, right? So
mm,
doesn't really, if you say someone's black in Nigeria, it means they're dark skinned.
yeah.
So that's really when I started to get a sort of
So
consciousness.
hold on, let's. I don't want you to run past that because I think a lot of folks here may have missed it because we've associated here in America black with being a race, right?
Yep.
And Nigeria, black is a color.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like
So
people.
you Nigerian, they say you were yellow. A
Yeah.
dark skinned Nigerian, they say is black.
Right. I mean,
So,
now
but
people have the global consciousness, so they're aware of blackness globally. But on a
mm,
local level, like in a village or something like that,
mm,
right? People,
mm,
if you say someone's black, it means they're dark skinned. You can
mm,
speak more globally about like black skinned people versus white skinned people or something like that. But at the local level, it's really rare to see a white person or a foreigner in Nigeria.
mm,
Was back in the day. Um,
mm.
and so that just the perception is different. So I came to the States, I had to learn what being black was. Um, and then the Klan came, and I really had to learn what it meant to be
Wow.
black in this country.
Wow. Now, when you were here, because we talked to, I don't know if people heard it in the intro, but we talked about the dimensions of West African Sufism
Yeah,
and the Yoruba oriṣa traditions.
yeah.
Were those traditions that you were already involved with as a child? Was that
No,
something you were born into?
no, it's not something I was born into. It was something I grew up around. So like I'd see it happening, I'd hear ceremonies, I'd see people, but no, it wasn't in my family. No one in my like immediate family was involved in Sufism or oriṣa traditions. But like distant extended family members were, and I grew up hearing stories from it. I mean, Yoruba culture is so tied comes from these Orisha traditions. So all the different things that you do, like the way you greet your elders, the stories you learn as kids, the proverbs
Mm,
and things like that, those all come from those Orisha traditions. So you kind of grew
mm.
up with that. As
Are
as
you a minister in that tradition? Are you a Yoruba
no, no, no,
priest?
no, 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 no. I'm not a priest. I'm not a priest in that tradition at all.
Okay.
I've studied and I'm friends with a lot of priests, amazing people who are priests in that tradition, but I'm not initiated in that tradition.
We had a couple of artists on here. Shout out to Zakai Free and his wife and Yvonne Orr, who Queen of Ben Abena Disro, who all indoctrinated in that tradition. And so, like you said, Allverse, one of the things about the NEA Center is it's an interfaith center, right? And so we
Hmm.
welcome folks of all faith. We know that, well, we are of the belief that a lot of people get to the truth in their own way, right? And what I call my truth may be different than what you call your truth. And it doesn't make either one of them untrue, right?
There's a beautiful Yoruba proverb, Onakon Waja, that says the marketplace doesn't just have one entrance.
Oh, I love that. Clip that, y'all.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
for those on Twitch, when we say clip that, it's a little icon that looks like a director's cut, right? You hit that, it says it'll take 30 seconds, and you could actually name it. You could share that clip out. You're gonna want to clip some stuff tonight. You want to clip some night. The marketplace has more than one interest. So go ahead, brother Oludamini. So you said that you weren't born into that. You just had friends. You were aware of it. It was around you. Then you came to America. Did you? Were you and I don't know why guys lead me this way, but you had opportunities to you talked about McDonald's and Burger King. I'm sure there was some Baptist churches or something there in Delaware. But
Yeah.
how did you? Because mom said, okay, we get them out of school, but how did your tradition? Because I'm guessing that this all feeds into your artistry.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I mean, yeah. So we growing up, we went to both my parents are Christian. We went to two different churches. There was a white Pentecostal church and then a Nigerian Pentecostal church, and they go to these two different churches. So we go there, but my brothers and I never really felt fully at home
Mm,
there. It was kind of very exclusivist, very limited. And from the time when we were little, we had this issue because we were raised to really respect and revere our ancestors. But even at the Nigerian Pentecostal Church, they will say that Orisha traditions, Yoruba traditional religions, are devil worship. But I was like, well, that's what our ancestors did. And we
Mm,
revere, everybody respects and reveres, and everybody knows, those people from that generation were incredible, people of incredible character and
mm,
dignity and honor. So how could
mm,
they be devil worshippers? So there are
mm.
all of these things that just didn't quite fit for us, and there was some emphasis on prosperity gospel and this kind of stuff that just didn't sit right with our spirits. Um,
Well, I love that, man. I love the fact that you just, because I think you just kind of gave people an understanding that we don't often get, right? Because many times we don't understand it. We just put it in a category and label it, right? Without any context or any understanding. Like, this is, when they was putting people on ships and bringing them over here, this before they ever heard of Jesus, and not that Jesus is bad or wrong thing, but this is who we are. This is part of our history,
mm,
and don't let the way that it's been manipulated, don't go by that. Find out for yourself, right? Now, uh, so I just want to bring folks forward because I want to get to a poem in a second. I want to get to the elegy of George Floyd, right? So, the activism, right? Where did that come from? Was it? I'm assuming the experience with the Klan as kids had a part to do with it, but at some point you decided you're going to be more than just pissed off, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think also that came from both my mom and my dad. I mean, my dad was always talking about make going back to Nigeria, trying to make things better there, trying to make things better for our people. So we are just kind of raised with this consciousness, with this idea that your life is never just about you. It's about your people. It's about your family. It's about your people. It's about doing what you can for them. It doesn't mean anything if you just succeed on your own, if you don't pave the way for others as well too. So we grew up with my dad doing that. I mean, we'd have all kinds of people staying in our house, people who had just come to the States. We would host international students all the time. My dad would be involved in all kinds of efforts in
Mm,
Nigeria back home. We'd go back summers and do all kinds of, I guess you call it charity or other kind of work as well too. And then, he and his friends will always be around discussing politics.
mm.
You
Now,
know,
your dad was an activist or is an
of
activist?
of of sorts. I mean, he's a chemical engineer, but
Okay,
his generation of Nigerians, they all, those who could get out went out for school and came back to try to build and make a better country.
got
And
it.
they're frustrated by political corruption and this, that, and the other thing. But they all, I mean, continue to fight to try to make Nigeria a better
Mm,
place.
mm,
And in coming to the States, they also recognized the similarities in their struggle for independence in Nigeria, for freedom in Nigeria, and Black people's struggle here in the US and the
mm.
Caribbean and around the world.
That's
Uh,
beautiful. That's
so
beautiful. Hey,
that's
shout out to the motherland, Nigeria. Let's give some love for my man in Africa. If you just, if there's an emote that you could put out, solidarity, red, black, and green flag or something. The colors of Nigeria. The colors of Nigeria are actually not red, black, and green. I know better than that, but there. What are the colors in the flag?
green, white, green.
Green, white, green, or some of if you got an iPhone, you might even find that flag. Well, let's get some emotes just in recognition, the acknowledgement of Dr. Oludamini, right? Oludamini. I don't know why I'm struggling so much with that. I'm trying to say it too fast. Let me just slow down. You go to school, you go to Harvard, man. What I understand, it's not easy to be black at a Ivy League school.
I mean, yeah, it's an adjustment. It's a bit of an adjustment. But
Right, you coming from homeschool, right? And so you're seeing folks. I know, but you had a liberal arts institution. They've got all of these folks that have got these these ideas and how to change the world, and they're Ivy League schools for a reason. And shout out to them, right? Shout out to them. You're getting exposed to some different stuff now because now you're back in you're in an environment not with mom teaching you, right?
right.
So fast forward to 2020.
Mm.
Corona hits, right? I think the wife might be pregnant, right? We turn on the news in May and we see "Get Your Knee Off My Neck,"
Yeah.
George Floyd.
Yeah, man. It was just like a tipping point because it's just like how many times have I seen this happen? I mean, even growing up, like there were people like the one time the cops pulled the gun, took the safety off their gun on my dad. Um, you know,
And we talking about in America, not in Africa, right?
no, in America. No, I mean Nigeria, you get the gun. They're connected too. I mean, the police forces in Nigeria and the US serve the same function.
Mm.
serve to protect the interests of European those who are collecting the wealth from the people and from the land.
We'll clip that, y'all. Clip that.
Either
Yeah.
for Europeans, kind of their puppets, or they serve the same function. But yeah, I mean, you get guns pointed at you by police in Nigeria all the time. That's just a Tuesday, right? But in the States, that happened as a that's a scary thing. And I've heard stories of friends who had lost relatives or themselves been roughed up by police, or had gotten caught up and falsely accused, gone to jail, or gotten
Now
records.
you're a professor at Virginia at this time when
Yeah,
you write Elegy for George Floyd, right?
that's right. That's right.
So I mean, we know UVA has an outstanding academic institution, and Virginia, you're in Charlotte, Virginia, which a year before that had the mad driver, let's call it, right?
Yep.
So, why did you write the piece?
Basically,
I guess more, not just why did you write it, why did you share it?
yeah. So I mean, I couldn't, like you said, we had moved to stay with my parents because we needed some help with childcare because my wife was trying to finish her dissertation. We've got my 4-year-old son who's running around, and so my parents, we were going crazy. And my parents said, "Just come on over. We'll help you out." So we're there. This happens, right? And I can't sleep. I couldn't sleep that whole night. I'm praying. I'm crying basically that whole night. And what am I going to do? And then these words just start coming. Right.
So why don't I'm gonna jump off the screen, right? And I'm gonna ask the audience, like, if you this is something really special. I heard it months ago. This is how me and Dom got together. I heard it and I reached out to him. He graciously, even in the midst of getting ready to have a baby, got back to me and said, just give me a few months. And I've been waiting for you to share this elegy of George Floyd with the listening audience and those that'll see this in replay. It was very powerful, very moving, and I want to give you free liberty, Doc, to do your thing with it, right? Like, I'm gonna jump off the screen. This is gonna be you, and without further ado, I'm just gonna let me move off the screen. And when you're ready, and when you finish it, just say that's that piece. That's why I know to come back in.
Okay. All right. So just a very, very brief background on it. This elegy is written in the form of classical Arabo-Islamic qasida. It's written by West African authors in Arabic, or sometimes in African languages like Hausa or Yoruba. So there's a particular format to it. It starts out with an image of natural scenery, goes through description of the person who was killed, what happened to them, and then ends with a kind of call to action and a prayer. And that's typical of these elegies, particularly in West Africa. All right. An elegy for George Floyd. Did lightning just flash from the far northern plains, or is it thunder crying out with their names? Is it from recalling our beloved slain, that tears mix with blood in the hot, heavy rain? Or has the tear gas on the smoke southern breeze brought news of strange fruit from new mace perfumed trees? Is that dawn in the west, or the midnight firelight? Has the sun finally set on this nightmarish life? Red sky at morning, old soldiers take warning. You strike a rock, and the earth quakes in mourning. The long night withheld its sweet sleep from me, like grains in my eyes are the bitter killings. His murder made even the driest eyes weep, the heartless of this age ripe with misery. Our tears fell like rain, as vast as the seas, but vanish in their desert sympathy. How then to write for George, elegy, my only ink's tears, my papers burning? My grief has made me a pillar of salt. The waters run out, but the sobs will not halt. On God, I'll mourn you as long as there's talking, as long as the flesh of my bones moves with longing. How can I praise you when we cannot breathe? When there are no more words, what words do we need? Bring music, light fires, let them see us bleed. What can we say now except, now you fly free? He cried for his dead, 'cause the living were deaf. But where were you, God, at his hard last breath? We are closer to him, but you do not see. I was sick, you ain't visit, hungry, nothing to eat. And dying, you choked me till I couldn't breathe. But what of the murderous devil, his knee? Take refuge from all such dark shadows in me. God, your lovers are fine, but your fan club's a mess, and I'm honestly not too sure about the rest. The earth's choked with so much injustice and greed. Where is there left any humanity? What shrouds can we stitch with shreds of decency? Is it only in death that we can be free? There's none like him in life, and there never will be, but in death he joins a vast company. Ahmad, Brianna, Trayvon, and Sandra, Philando and Alton, Atatiana, Amadou, Omar, Fumi, Adama, Biko, Cabral, Emmett, Lumumba, Brefu, Bookman, Makandal, Dandara, Tamir, Tony, David, Walter, Mujinga, Taki and Jati, Buna, Eliza, Michael and Eric, our mothers and fathers, Huey, Fred Medgar, and Malcolm and Martin. Millions more names lost, but they not forgotten. For you I will weep as long as doves cry, as long as the stars and the moon in the sky brighten the way of a kind passerby, as long as the truth stands out from the lies, as long as there's water and light in their eyes, and warmth in a hug, soft strength in our thighs. I'll never make peace with your enemies. There's no truce for light with shadows of fleas. We fight and we struggle. How? By any means. Till the suns burn to ashes, all cold and unseen. Till we reach that home where life's just a dream. What we do to you, death, that you do us like this? I know life's unfair, but where's your justice? My heart's well of tears is rising higher. They toss bodies in. Our souls catch fire. They trample and curse, spit shit all on ours, and just like the earth, we keep feeding them flowers. It seems some evils even time can't devour, because they refuse to repent till the hour. Time's gnawed at this wound and bit me and cut. It's about damn time. Even hell says enough. No doubt we'll beat those who've forgotten defeat. Their bloody idols are perched on clay feet, their idols all stained by the lives of the meek as they sacrifice us for their cannibal feasts. Their laws and their order are causes of murder, the jaws of their jails filled with dreamers deferred. The big house is built on our ancestors' bones, bricks baked with their blood, sweat mortars each stone. What ghouls could ever call such places home? Only the most hungry, amnesiac ghosts. But with all of these bodies in the wall, his house built on crimes is bound to soon fall. Like Ad and Thamud, like Rome, Babylon, this piled up dust will be scattered and gone. God bless all those brave and desperate souls thrown out in the fields, shivering in the cold. Nothing left to lose, no more fucks to give. They give all the fire to stand up and live. The comfortable kneel and pray for taut peace, but real ones are out here stirring up a breeze. I envy the birds, I envy the trees. They've never seen such from their own species. Our hearts are broken, now smash theirs diseased. Return them to form or destroy the donkeys. Come down now, Moses. Your people are dying. Ditch the palace, come run with the lions. There's no time to wait, no place for hiding. Kick off your shoes and come take us flying. Part the waters, make Sinai's climb. Bring down the light and the fire this time. You were sent as mercy to the red and the black. Now our black blood runs red from the stripes on our backs, from the blows of the pharaohs, warlocks, and their staffs. Deaf, dumb, and blind, will they never go back? Intercede now and heal us, they're on the attack. Have we not always sheltered the people of Hak? They lie in our skins, dance and feast on our pain, and then pretend to care, liars without shame. Their faces like death, armored, masked in hate, the legion Christ cast into pigs now renamed. God give us the strength and please keep us sane. Please grant us justice and keep us humane. From Oakland to Addis, London to Brisbane, we ask by our best, your mightiest name. Have mercy upon all of our friends slain by poverty, hate, by illness and cane. They're not dead but living in skies and our veins. Bless all our mothers, our sisters in pain. Bless our fathers and our brothers in chains. Bless all those who stand with us not for fame, and grant us a good end, free of any shame. But now we'll still shout and still dance and still sing the desperate joy of the last human beings. Did lightning just flash from the far northern plains, or is it thunder crying out in our pain? And that's that verse.
Ooh. Did lightning just shout? Powerful, brother.
Thank you.
An elegy for George Floyd. An elegy for George Floyd. When you say an elegy, for those that may not know, what is an elegy? What does that mean?
Elegy is a poem written to lament the death of someone, to celebrate their life, and really, it's. I mean, even from ancient times, it's a kind of funerary ritual poem that you do to kind of celebrate their life, heal their spirit, help them with their transition, and also ward off the forces that killed them and are trying to kill you.
Mm, mm.
That's what I thought it was supposed to be.
Wow. Well, that was the elegy of George Floyd by Dr. Oludamini Ogunnaike. Did I get it right that time?
Close. Yeah.
Close with no cigar. And I'm gonna bring. We got a special guest that just joined us, man. If you don't mind, I'm gonna bring her in. She's over there shaking her head because she's big on telling me how to pronounce names right. So she probably can hopefully do a better job with this than I can. Babe, slide your camera over just a little bit so we can get your full picture. This is the founder of the NIA Center, y'all. Naonu Jewel. My wife, my lovely wife. She's also finishing her last semester of her MDiv program at Union. And actually, the reason that here, because I heard her listening to an elegy for George Floyd last semester. So, Naomi, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Now, you jumped into, you don't often jump into the studio and ask to come on. What was it that compelled you to join us tonight?
Well, when I first heard this elegy, it was in my Islamic religious thought class in the fall of 2020, and all of this was so fresh. And even being back in the semester, although I love my studies, there was something about it that felt kind of just out of sorts, right? Just sitting, studying, as opposed to being and doing and wanting to do. And Dr. Jerusha Rose, at the beginning of each one of our Islamic religious thought classes, would present some piece of body of work, some artistic words or music or song or something that gave us more of an embodied feeling and an embodied experience of Islam. And the day that she played this, I was just literally speechless. Like I just couldn't respond. And, I love my fellow students, but in my classroom, I am generally the only one who looks like me. And I appreciated that she shared this, and it touched my soul so deeply, but I couldn't utter a word. But I said, Mark, you got to hear this. You got to hear this. So thank you. So I jumped on to say thank you. Thank you for trusting your gifts, for sharing it. And the words are powerful, but powerful in a way that we need, because our body feels that pain. And there is a way that even in hearing and reliving the pain, there is a sense of freedom and communion and oneness and connection, which also creates the hope and the liberation. And all of that, those things live in your peace. So thank you.
Thank you.
Before you jump off, now we talk about an elegy for George Floyd. For those that are just joining and maybe coming in later, written by the esteemed Professor Doctor. He said I could call him Dom Nate, so I don't keep messing his name up. Right. But the other thing is that, because I'm curious here, because around the George Floyd time, and I got in touch with feelings that I didn't know. And so that whole line around the lightning and the sky crying really relates to me, because I found myself just emotionally charged in a way that I didn't even know that was present in me. Right. And we did a show, a Sacred Space Sunday show back, I guess it might have been June-ish, and for to honor the spirit of allowing people just to kind of share what's going on with them. And we played a video by Billy Porter, and I'll never forget. Now, we prep for this show. We're professionals, so we prep for it. We've seen the video several times. And in the show, as it was playing, much like as I was hearing you say this again, because I've listened to the elegy of George Floyd several times, as the emotion that overcame me is like it's still there, right? I still feel the inadequacies, the fear, the disappointments, the rage, all of the it's like a whole mix of things, right? It's not just one thing. And I'm like, dang, it's still there, and we almost made 2021, and it's still there. And so I gotta imagine it wasn't easy to write and then to publicly share that piece. But can you just talk a little bit around? You're a professor, you did you get backlash from the university, or did you get people coming at you in a way that wasn't like yeah? Like, what was that like when you put that out?
I mean, so at first I just sent it out to friends and family, and for me it was just like crying. You know, this is just the verses were just like tears, and sharing it with people is like getting a hug, you know. So it's just like we were in this together. And it was also just like a prayer, you know. And then so I put it up on I'm not on social media. I put it up on my academia.edu page, and my wife put it up on her Facebook, and it started to get some responses. There was a little bit of static from some people who were like, oh, this is not academic or something like that. But I was like, no, this is more academic than, I mean, this is more intellectual and more important than, and generally it's gotten a good reception. I've heard from people that have been teaching it. But to be honest, I don't care. This, I really don't care. Like what you were saying about this feeling. So I had that verse, you know, my heart's well of tears is rising higher. They toss bodies in, right? I feel like ever since I was like 10, I've been walking around with this just like well of tears for all the suffering. And every time they kill someone else, somebody else's life or promise gets snuffed out, the well gets higher and higher. They just keep tossing bodies in. And eventually it's going to overflow, you know?
Yeah.
Eventually it overflows. For me, it overflowed in the form of a poem. But then there was a line, you know, our souls catch fire, right? People just had enough. People that had enough. So they went and, you know, the references to Malcolm X's speech there, the house Negro and the field Negro, there too is, you know, so some people are praying for taught peace, but real ones are out there stirring up a breeze. So Malcolm X said, you know, when the house catches on fire, the house Negro tries to put it out. The field Negro prays for a breeze. Right. So the stuff that's going on, people lighting fires, some people are like, no, calm down, be respectful. This, that, and the other thing. I mean, how are you respectful of the thing that's mowing your people down, that's crushing them, that's killing them, that's then crushing and killing them for hundreds of years? You know,
No,
so
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Something's gotta give. Something simply has to give. Yeah, so another line in there, you know, with all, you know, how could anyone call this place home? People are now talking about getting back to normal, right? But what we called normal was a nightmare for so many people. A nightmare spiritually, a nightmare psychologically, a nightmare physically. You know, this is not normal was not a good and a healthy place really for anyone in this country to be black or white. But some people who can make it through the strength of their spiritual practice and other things, they can stay healthy. But you know, so much about the way things are set up culturally, economically, politically, that's just toxic for people, toxic to their souls, toxic to their minds, toxic to their bodies. You know, so as we're kind of coming out of the pandemic, we shouldn't get back to normal. We've got things have to be different. Have to be different, or we're going to be in for something even worse.
Well,
and to your point, there won't be a return to normal, because normal was what was normalized, right? Never should have been. And there's no way to return to even that form of normative behavior, because although capitalism is driving us, quote unquote, out of the pandemic, what we know on the ground in the communities and the havoc that has wreaked, not just for communities of color, not just for Black people, but most people in general, those impacts are going to be lasting for very many years, but in particular for Black folk and marginalized people. Not only the sustained illness that accompanies COVID, we've got the economic crisis, and we know that
academic crisis. That's
well,
it.
Yes.
I don't know if you was gonna say
That's
that.
a whole different show. That's a whole different show.
I'm in the schools up here in Maryland, man. I'm seeing it firsthand. I can call it what it is.
Yeah. Economic, academic, yes, because the digital divide that has really, been made clear. People being sent back in the classroom prematurely, being at home doesn't work, being back in the classroom doesn't work, and so there's so many pandemics happening at the same time. So yeah, to your point, this thing that we're moving into is uncharted territory, and we carry all of the baggage that has never been resolved.
Now, speaking of that, so there's a comment, thank you, Russell, that your elegy is part of our community's living history, right? And being a part of what can we do with it? I mean, and so this show we just pivoted, y'all, because this is what gets to be shared. But elegy, you said, is like an honoring, right, of a person's life, right? And so you could write an elegy for somebody that didn't tragically pass it, right? You could write you could write elegy. So, but your elegy has a call to action in it, right? And so I want to kind of talk a little bit about the call to action that you see for a Naonu or Mark or somebody that hears it, because whether that was your intention when you wrote it or now you see the possibility of it. What is the possibility in the call to action that maybe we could go share and have somebody else hear it and take action on?
Yeah, I mean, it's not one thing in particular. There's a hadith saying the Prophet says, if any of you sees a wrong, you should change it with your hand. You can't change it with your hand. You should speak against it with your mouth. You can't speak against it with your mouth. You should pray against it with your heart. And that's the least of faith. So I think we need to be operating on all three levels. What you can do with your hands, organize, get together with your people, get together with your family, and also speak out against things. Educate yourself, educate those around you, see through the lies, see through the things you may have been taught. Try to understand what's really going on, and try to get yourself free. You know, say hurt people, free people, free people. Right? Try to get yourself as free as possible, psychologically, intellectually, spiritually, and pray. Prayer is powerful. Prayer works. You know, I study West African religious traditions, both in West Africa and the diaspora, and a lot of these revolutionary movements, anti-slavery, anti-colonial, the revolts of enslaved people, they all involved, in addition to organizing and military stuff, lots of prayer. Lots of prayer, lots of rituals, and oftentimes poetry as well too. A lot of these West African jihads, the way they would recruit and the way they would get the message out, they'd write poems that were calls to arms, and it kind of served as anthems for the movement.
Now, in the SoundCloud version of the elegy, do you do a call to prayer or something line with your? I thought I heard a piece.
In the SoundCloud, I start out like traditionally whenever you start any Muslim action, you say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I seek refuge in God from the accursed Satan, in the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate. So before we started the show, I said that under my breath. But yeah, that's how Muslim, you know.
Okay, because I thought that you didn't say it today when you did the poem live on the show, though, did you?
No, I didn't say it today.
Can you? And so say it again in the native language and then translate it. I want the audience to hear that.
It's A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. That's I take refuge in God from the accursed Satan, in the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate. So that's what you say before you recite the Quran, before you eat food, before you start your car, before you're about to do anything, with niyyah, with intention, with purpose. That's what you recite.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, for those that are hearing this, if you want to contact the brother, he already told you he's not on social media, so you can search his name spelled 100 different ways. You're not gonna find him. However, you can find him at these two blogs on this website at Virginia.academia.edu, right, and at blogs.harvard.edu. Right. And he has, one of the things I found really interesting about the Harvard blog is that not only do you post your pieces, but you post your interpretations of them.
Yeah, well, I put translations of other poets. So I came up learning Arabic and Persian, and so I would do translations of some of my favorite poems from Arabic and Persian into English. So
do you have a Persian? Do you know a Persian, like a verse or something? I hate to put you on the spot. If you don't, that's fine too. Do you have any memorized it, like even a line from one?
Yeah, I've got. Well, this one's kind of funny. It's the first one I have memorized, so it's the easiest one.
Okay.
Man masto to divani maroke barad khane sadba tora goftam kamkhor dose peymane, which basically means I'm drunk and you're crazy. So who's gonna take us home? How many times have I told you, just drink a little bit less, right? It's a
Yo, y'all heard it here first. ALLVERSE Thursdays, a poem in Persian, a Persian poem, y'all, with a little bit of alliteration from Mark Christmas, your host. Hey, Dr. Don, man, it's been an honor. We got about 10 more minutes. We're gonna get to it, but I just want to tell people that are tuning in, thank you if you've been here. If you're watching the replay, thank you. If you saw just a piece of this, you want to make sure that you either go on Twitch and watch the whole thing, go to the YouTube channel, watch it, share it with a friend, right? So Doc is not on Facebook, so you got to share it with his friend, his network for him, right? You got to share it because the story gets to be told around a young brother who they call yellow, which we think is we call light skin, right? Told us that the color black was a color in Nigeria, came here, went to school, the Klan coming to bully the kids at the school. Roots is out, Alex Hayes, things is fresh in the mind. Mama say, not mine. Pulls him out of school. I should have had this for the introduction, man. I'm on fire now. Pulls him out of school, homeschools him. I mean, does such an awesome job, gets 3 kids. And this is how we black folks, we add on to it. 3 kids with full scholarships to Harvard. With 3 kids, go to Harvard. He gets an AB, which in other colleges is called a BA, but it's Harvard is different. He gets an AB, but then goes on to get another degree. He gets his PhD from Harvard as well, and now teaching at the University of Virginia. Has 2 books. Tell us about what you got going on right now. So I know you've had. I mean, besides the baby and juggling a 4-year-old and a newborn and trying to stay healthy, man. What do you have any projects or what do you have happening right now?
Yeah, so I'm teaching right now. I teach a class called What is Love? Reflections on Love from the Islamic Tradition. I'm teaching a class on Yoruba religions. I'm working on a project now with some other scholars at Harvard and a few other places, translating the poetry of Sheikh Ibrahim Niasse, who was probably the most influential Sufi master on the African continent in the 20th century. He died in 1975. He has kind of millions of disciples in his movement, and he was one of the 20th century's greatest Arabic language poets. But because a lot of his stuff hasn't been translated yet, he's not known outside of the sphere of people who read Arabic poetry. So we're trying to do a massive translation project to get his works better known in the West and in English-speaking audiences, so they can appreciate African Sufi poetry.
Now that's Sufi. Now, Nate, I'm asking you to jump back in for a second because I want to brag on you and I want people to see you, and I don't care about you saying no, don't do it. ALLVERSE, and actually the NIA Center was created because I told you I'd tell the story. So we got married. We went to Mexico, Puerto Vallarta for our honeymoon. And we never go on the excursions, right? But we're there for a few days. We go on the excursion. And part of the excursion is like zip line. But it's like 10 to 12 people. You zip line over caves and all this kind of stuff. But part of it is on the traditional land of the original people of that area, of the Mayan. And so they said, well, they don't tell you this before, but when you get there, you got to do 2 things, right? You're going to get a Mayan blessing. And you got to go to their gift shop and just check the stuff out. You have to buy, but go to check the stuff out. So we go get the blessing, and Reverend Don, what's his name?
Don Cristo.
Don Cristo. See, she knows this story very well. Don Cristo, at the end, is me, her, and the little boy from New York that says, stay back with the rest of people left. We say, hey, can we just stay and say, kind of tell him thank you? Now, he's not speaking English. He's speaking
his indigenous language.
Thank you, Nate. She's keeping me honest, right? Because he's an expert in diversity, and she's about to get her PhD real soon, too. So, but anyway, so we go, and he grabs our head by the side, like one at a time. And whatever he's saying, the energy of it is just profound. Like, like if you can see in the movie, you feel like it's like, woo, woo, right? Or like in the I grew up in a Pentecostal church, they lay their hands and people fall out, but we was in the cave, so we didn't want to fall out. So anyway, next day I see the wife, we having breakfast, and I've been with my wife for a while at this point in time. And I said, hey, baby, I don't know how to ask this question, but have your eyes always been gray? And she looked at me and she said, it's funny you should say that, right? And that was really it. She said, I felt like I got a divine download yesterday from when we got the blessing from Don Cristo, and I want to go and study I want to get my master's in. I don't know if she knows she's gonna get a master's or MDiv at the time, but she wanted to study. But she wanted to bring diversity and inclusion to the world through the lens of traditions, which hadn't really been entertained before. So she embarks upon this, and we create the Nia Center as she was another birth child of hers, which now brought us together. So I say all that to say that Sufism was about a year ago, we had a guest that was a Sufi. For a lot of folks don't know really about these different traditions, right? And so now I just want to say, as the founding member of NIS and as our Reverend, almost Doctor to be, right? We just came from the Proctor conference, so I got a bunch of Reverend Doctor stuff in my head. But the Reverend Doctor to be Naonu, what would you like to offer some just in kind of introspection or acknowledgement of some of what you heard tonight?
Well, I just really think that you embody the reason why the NIA Center exists. Our vision is to engage, educate, and empower people. And you do that, through sharing of stories, as you well know. And so the number of intersections that you have spoken to tonight, and also illuminating, the realities of African traditional religion and how that still is very relevant and pertinent and part of our society, in the Black community, in the American community, in ways that many just are not aware of. And bringing it all together. And so as you represent, and someone would look at you and look to put you in any one box, and none of them would define you solely, and you're representing so many different spheres of influence and dimensions. And so I just really appreciate you sharing your time and being so generous in sharing your different views and perspectives, your experience, your ancestral history, what drives you, and those things that are connecting us in terms of the struggle, and really, understanding that, but for us coming together across differences within our own communities, whether that is from our traditions and our practices across the diaspora, as you suggested, across the hierarchy of education, and really looking to see, in those differences, how do we still see that common thread? If we're on any road in the United States on a certain day with family or alone, it can go down the exact same way. And all those particularities about our identity, only one will matter to the person who we come in contact with. And so the fact that we live with that awareness every day is what I think that you said, that we can hear something like the elegy of George Floyd, and whether I hear it 2 days after a traumatic, news story, or 2 years, it's going to hurt my heart the same way, because I'm carrying that ancestral pain of hundreds of years that has crossed all the seas on this planet. So really just thank you. And you really are doing great things in the world. And we just really appreciate you. And it's just an affirmation and a reification of the work that needs to be done. And glad that we can continue to
I'd like us to come back together another time, maybe in a different platform, Doc, if you're up to it as well. We could talk offline on that. But I'm just going to put the plug out in front of everybody. That's because that's what I like to do. Phenomenal. If you haven't had a chance to copy those websites out or grab them out the text, please go ahead and do. I'll tell you, you'll find some information there that's really interesting. You made me wish I was in undergrad just for a hot second, because that class sounds like a really wonderful class. We actually, Dave's sister, two sisters are UVA graduates, and one of her sister's husband is a UVA graduate, and one of their kids. So it's a lot of UVA that's in the house that'll see this and we'll share this with. And I just am honored to have you, and I want to give you a space. If you have any kind of closing words that you'd like to share with us, or things you'd like to say, or whatever, man, it's your platform. Go ahead and have your space.
Thank you very much. I just want to say thank you for creating this space. I mean, one of the reasons I accepted the invitation when it came was I saw the name Nia, which means intention or purpose. There's another hadith saying the Prophet of Islam that says "Innamal a'mal binniyat," actions are judged on the basis of their intentions. So intentions are really what matters, what guides everything. So it's a really beautiful thing that you guys have set up here, and I'm really honored to be a part of it. Thank you for creating a space for the poem. Thank you for hearing it and for inviting me. I mean, what you said really resonated with me. Is a term in kind of Islamic Arabic poetics called lisan al-hal, the tongue of the state. Good poems have this; they come from this state, and when people hear them, it produces that state in them. So it's it means a lot to me as a poet, and also just someone going through this to know that despite the quarantine and everything, we're not going through this alone. We're together. We're together in this. And as the history of our peoples shows, we have used poetry. We have drawn on our resources of spirituality, ancestral wisdom, and strength from many traditions: Islamic, indigenous, various indigenous traditions, and Christian traditions, in order to preserve our life, in order to preserve our legacy, and in order to make a better world for ourselves and our children. And I thank you guys for contributing to that in the space that you've created and allowing me to be a part of that. So thank you very much.
Hey, brother. So we got a way of just ending the show. Blessings of oneness, love, and joy. Only those that, if folks, you got some names in your mind, you want to put them in the chat. Just an acknowledgement of them. They don't have to have something wrong with them. You just want to send them a blessing of oneness, love, and joy, right? Because we can, and and it's our show, so we can do what we want to do. And as you're hearing that, as you're thinking of that, if there's some names, I'd just like to close this with a prayer to say thank you for being the Most High, the most loving, and the most merciful. Dear Lord, dear God, help me. Help me. Please help me to feel your peace in my life today. See, you've promised me a peace and I need it. Your perfect peace that goes beyond all understanding. Please touch me. Please have mercy upon me. Please guide me and protect me. Help me to feel your presence and experience you in the midst of it all. God, thank you in advance for your help. Amen. And so it is. And with that being said, thanks for tuning in to ALLVERSE Thursdays. See y'all next Thursday, the 7th. She Pharaoh. She's going to be a phenomenal artist. Our guest, She Pharaoh. Shout out to Dr. O one more time. We're glad to have him on the show. So we had a special drop in by our founder, Naonu, Reverend Dr. The B, and me, MC.